I'd like to bring in Marty Levin from Mount Laurel to introduce our next guest. Marty.
Thanks, Dorothy, and good evening, everyone. It's great to be with you. I'm sure many of you are aware of the two important federal bills that have been passed within the last year. The first, the Investment and Jobs Act and Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And the second one, much more recently, the Inflation Reduction Act. Well, we have a special guest tonight, Beverly Ward, who's the Field Secretary for EarthCare Southeastern Yearly Meeting and also co-clerk of the Quaker EarthCare Witness. And she joins us tonight from Florida, and she'll be sharing with us implications of both of these bills on our region because of a lot of funding available. And if we're wise and we can work the levers of power properly, we can take advantage of some of this infrastructure money and benefit all the people in our 101 towns. So Beverly, I didn't see you on the list earlier. I hope you're still here with us.
I'm still here with you.
Oh,
can
wonderful.
You hear me? Yeah,
okay,
great.
I'm going to turn it over to you at this point. I appreciate your being here.
I appreciate the opportunity to be with you. Can everyone see my screen? I have a few slides to share with you. And I call this the Earth We Seek to begin this discussion. First of all, as we've been talking about, I look at it from the human impacts that we're having on the environment and looking at the 3 counties and the growth between 2010 and 2020. These 3 counties account for about 15% of New Jersey's total population. And this is important to keep in mind because a number of the funds that I'm talking about are based on population, the way they're going to be allocated to the states. So if you look at it, you know, the pro rata share for the region, for the Tri-County region. So most of the funding focuses on access and mobility, the transportation network writ large. There's money in there for extreme weather, climate collapse, water quality, following up on some earlier presentations, and air quality. So very quickly, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act was signed by President Biden on 15th of November, 2021. It's over $500 billion dollars in new federal funds. As I said, most of it goes towards roads and bridges. There's also lots of money for greener transportation, weatherization, internet, and pay attention to the water infrastructure funds that are here. Quickly, there's a breakdown, and I failed you. I did not include, I have the wrong information here. I'm going to update what I send to Marty so that I have Gloucester in here because there is I did break down Gloucester. I picked the wrong but this gives you an idea of the breakdown of funding. Roughly, a lot of money goes to roads. This is repairing infrastructure. There is some flexibility in this funding that you need to pay attention to because of the way our federal funding goes. Although it reads roads, there's lots of money in there for amenities, for pedestrians and bicyclists. There are some decisions that communities are making in terms of taking out some like elevated roadway infrastructure and bringing it down to ground level, creating boulevards and so on. Bridges are very important. The transport options is really focusing on transit, mass transit. There's some flexibility to do some things both with roads and transit in terms of rail. Very important, based on earlier conversations, is the EV charging stations. And looking at where these will be placed, there's lots of money for that. The 2 areas that over to the side, the competitive funds, these are funds that are available nationally where areas can come together and compete for additional funding, particularly in EV chargers and competitive. There's also money for major projects. Estimated in New Jersey, about 115,000 people at the time this was done had no internet. There are another about 1.5 million people who could benefit from an affordability benefit, which would help people pay for their internet costs. This is important because it is assumed, and one of the things we found during when everybody was on lockdown with COVID, that lots of areas that we thought were internet rich, such as urbanized areas, had serious pockets that did not have access. So that's really important. Under wildfires and weather, there is money for weatherization. Terrell mentioned the low income heating and energy, LIHEAP funds. There's more money out there for that. The senator mentioned cyber attacks. There's money in this bill for that. Clean water. This gets to the water infrastructure issues that were also mentioned, and then also airports. So what's important about this is that not only is this funding available, but it also, because of a piece of an executive order that President Biden signed a week after the inauguration, the Justice 40 initiative, which directs that at least 40% of the overall benefits from federal investment go towards disadvantaged communities. There are 21 priority programs, and we can think about when we think about disadvantaged communities, there's a climate and economic justice screening tool that's linked here that you can take a look at, what is defined there. Here's an example of this census tract from East Camden and Albert Village. There were, just in this census tract alone, 7 categories that were identified that put this area as disadvantaged. So there's some legacy pollution issues, some health burdens, clean transit, clean energy, and so on. So this gives you an idea of what this tool can do in helping you locally identify these areas. And finally, the Inflation Reduction Act, the information about this has just come out. There is a state breakdown that I will include in the link that the updated slide deck that I sent to Marty. I haven't gotten to breaking down by county what this means, but I've promised all the counties that I talked to that as this information is updated, I will share with you what that looks like. Basically, this is as has been touted. There's over $360 billion in energy and climate programs. These programs are also subject to the Justice 40 initiative. There is problems that some people in the environmental justice community feel that still not enough is being done. And then there's the poison pill that Senator Manchin negotiated, but we're working on that around oil and gas drilling. Finally, the next steps that I would encourage you to think about is that the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission has a page. I'm going to put that in the chat box for you to link to, that you can go and take a look at what the Planning Commission is doing around allocating these funds. I really have a lot of respect for the Planning Commission because they very much encourage people to get involved. You can sign up for their newsletters. You can volunteer to be on their citizens committees. They have a technical advisory committee. They have a citizens advisory committee. They have a bike ped committee. They have lots of, and some of you may be already familiar with this. This is a way to be involved in the decision-making process about how these funds are allocated. You already have identified a number of programs in your Tri-County area, which is great because you're coming together as a group saying regionally, this is what we need. We've already done the citizen science. We've already identified areas. So I encourage you to be, and they actually look forward to groups such as Tri-County Sustainability coming to them saying, we've done this, we're ready. Here are the projects that we've already prioritized. So I didn't put the link for their public involvement or public engagement page, but they have a page that you can go there. And when I send, as I said, when I send Marty the updated slide deck, that link will also be there. Marty knows how to find me, Ruth Darlington. I usually warn people that once I visit with you, I keep coming back. So don't be surprised if we're in another meeting and I pop up. This is what I do. Thank you much. I know I went really fast, but this is the way I wanted to get the information out.
Beverly, thank you so much. I have a couple of quick questions, if you don't mind. I noticed that there was an allocation for airports. We don't have a international airport in our counties, but we do have some small regional airports. Is that what those funds would be?
Yes, they can. And particularly if you've identified needs. One of the problems with small regional airports is you know, what's the status of the equipment there? How, you know, are you able to have staff there 24 hours? You know, those kinds of issues. What's the condition of the runways? So those are, then that's one of the things that's happening with climate collapse is that we need lots of redundancy in the system. So this is a way to advocate for, like, let's not even, you know, what if someone had to be diverted from one of the larger regional airports? From one of the larger international airports or even larger regional airports? Can the airports in your region, you know, deal with that? And so that's that, yes.
Okay. And the other thing you mentioned was that screening tool. Is that something you can put a link in the chat for? So that
I definitely can. I will
or just send it to me. That'll be
it's in the slide deck.
Okay.
And also on the link I gave you for the Regional Planning Commission, they actually have a link to the screening tool on that webpage. They talk about Justice 40. I think they even have a whole Justice 40 webpage about what they're doing. I just want you to know that I know people from that planning commission, and they are really, they really would appreciate your input.
Great. Well, thank you. That's a terrific incentive for us to make contact with them. And I think there are actually a few folks on our committee who are already connected with them. And I just want to put in one quick plug.